categories in there? Yeah.
And you can switch. We'll have to start. No problem.
It's so quiet now. Have water.
Water?
Can I have water for him?
Okay. You didn't have water?
He's got one right there. This one? Oh, all right.
Okay, one other housekeeping measure before we get started. If you're on the police juror Wi-Fi, can you please turn it off? Because it's gonna lag our streaming and we're gonna be able to won't be able to take questions from the people who are remote for this event, okay? So if you're on the police jury Wi-Fi, just go on your own cellular data, okay? Thank you.
Ready? Close to you. Stairs, huh?
And just one more thing, I keep saying one more, but if you can turn your ringer off, that would be greatly appreciated. Ringer off and your cellular data off. Thank you. We are about to begin.
We got about 4 minutes before we'll get started. We'll start with the prayer and then I'll bring greetings. Thank you. If there's a vacant seat near you, will you raise your hand so those who want to be seated can be seated? If there's a vacant seat next to you, for those who want to be seated, they can move on to that area.
I've had a few times in this place. Got this for
Planning and zoning stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Again, we're about to get started. So we'll first have a prayer by Nicole Moncrief, and then we'll have a brief greeting by yours truly.
Please bow your head for prayer. Oh, precious Father, we thank you tonight for the coming of together, Father God. We thank you, Father God, for all that you've done to bring everyone here tonight. Father God, we thank you for the conversation, the questions. We thank you for the understanding that we all come together, Father, to find the leadership for Lake Charles, City of Lake Charles. We thank the Deltas who have come forward to bring this wonderful event. We thank those who are listening that could not make it here tonight. Father God, we just pray that this is a great time to come together for our city and hear answers of how we will move forward together. Father, we ask this to you in your precious Son, Jesus' name, we pray and ask it. Amen.
Amen.
Good evenings and greetings. We are ready to get started. I am Zelda Fry, and I serve as the president of the Lake Charles Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Today's forum is being hosted by Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So at this time, before we move any further, will the members of our chapter please stand? Let them see who you are. Thank you, ladies. You may be seated. Let me welcome all of you in attendance to today's forum. Our forum today will feature candidates seeking the position of mayor for the city of Lake Charles. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of the candidates for participating in the mayoral forum. So, brief greeting without further delay. I will turn the program over to our chapter's social action chair, Dr. Giselle Hawkins, to share the format for today's forum, introduce our moderator and timekeepers, and go over some very specific instructions. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, thank you for coming. I wanted to also thank our candidates. It was some of you who was on very short notice, so I know you guys got out, and we appreciate your attention in coming out for this event. We also wanted to go over some of the history. Our organization has been around since 1913. We were one of the first organizations to participate in the suffrage march in 1913. We are over 300,000 members, in fact, over 350,000 members worldwide, and we are over 200 in Lake Charles. With this forum today, we are going to have a 2-minute opening from each candidate. We've already established our starting order, so you guys know we pulled a card to find out who will go in random starting order. We will start with Mr. Taha as our first candidate to speak and give his opening. Our moderator this evening is Nikia Collins Bushnell, and our timekeepers are Karen Hart and Morgan Hawkins. We will be taking questions from the audience. If you will just write cards, you put your hand up, someone will give you a card. You can write questions on the card. We are also streaming this live off of Facebook. I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7, a nonpartisan organization, and does not endorse any candidate. The forum is for educational purposes only. So this is your time to get information and answer the questions that you need to be an informed participant in this electoral process. Any questions? So I turn this over to our Mistress of Ceremonies, Ms. Nikia Collins Bushnell.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your commitment and service and your time and sacrifice from your families to be here. My name is Nikia Collins Bushnell. I will be your moderator for the evening. Each of you have been given instructions as well as the starting order. The way that our forum will proceed will be that each one of you will have a 2-minute opening. Once those are completed, I will begin with the questions where each of you will either receive the same question or the option of a different question optioned by me. In the event that you have a rebuttal, after a 1-minute response, you will have a 30-second rebuttal, and those rebuttals will also be managed by myself. In the event that your rebuttal or your time goes over, you will be asked to stop mid-sentence, and in that sentence to not take up the time of another candidate. Are those instructions understood?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
2-minute introduction, 1-minute response to questions, 30 seconds for rebuttal. Additionally, our timekeepers are here on the sides of me, and they will hold up cards to ensure that you are keeping up with your time. There is a device that one of the candidates has asked to use so that they can time themselves. If either one of you would like to use an individual device of your own as well, we'd like to give that time an option for you to do that too. But there is a device on the panel that is being used independently by a candidate to ensure that they have the appropriate times for their own timekeeping measures. You too are welcome to do that as well. Any questions? Any concerns about the use of a personal device? Okay, we'll proceed. So we will begin with Mr. Khalid Taha. 2-minute introduction, and our timekeepers will start their timers.
First, I would like to thank Delta, Sigma, Theta, Sorority for hosting this event. Let's get started. My name is Khalid Taha. I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. I've been living in Lake Charles for 43 years. I have 3 kids, of course, and a wife. My wife, Hanadi, and 3 kids, big kids. One of them named Shadi. He's 30 years old. He's a mechanical engineer. Shireen is 28 years old. She's a rad tech. She works in Houston. And my youngest one's Marwan. He's 26 years old, mechanical engineer. All my kids, including myself, are proud supporter of McNeese and a proud graduate of McNeese State University. As a father, my top priority is my family. And as a citizen of this community, my top priority is safety for everybody, for our senior citizen, women, and children. If I get elected as a mayor, I promise that I will work my hardest to make our city safer for our children and women. And I'll be working with the Lake Charles Police Department to ensure their hard work and dedication are awarded. Thank you.
You recuse the time?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move to Mr. Wilford Carter, Jr.
Good afternoon. My name is Wilford Carter. First of all, I would like to thank the Deltas for putting on this platform and being a beacon of hope to our community. I'm honored. My mother's a Delta as well as my sisters are Deltas. I know exactly how much y'all work and how many meetings y'all have. I also want to commend all these young men up here and thank them for even taking the time. It's a brave and a very, very difficult thing to commit your time and put your life at hold pretty much, as well as put all who you are on the stage for you and promote themselves to serve you as a community. This is not going to be some type of aggression or some hate towards each other. I respect them tremendously. At the end, I will always treat them with respect. Whoever wins, and whoever wins, I'm always going to support them. Last but not least, I want to thank everyone. Y'all could be eating at your house with your kids or doing whatever you do at this time, but you decided to invest in your community. You decided to get the information, and y'all are going to be the people that go talk to other ones and tell them, oh, it's 66, they fast, they do that. Anyway, my name is Wilford Carter. I was born and raised in Lake Charles. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I also have been an educator for 21 years. At that same time, I've also managed to own a business for 10 years. I've always been taught by my mother and my father to always work extremely hard, always have integrity, never do anything wrong, and always help the people that can't help themselves. This is the only reason why I'm here, because I want to make sure the entire city is represented properly. And so if you elect me, you're going to be a person that you can talk to, you can meet with, you know exactly who I am. I'm never going to hide. I'm never going to make you a promise that I can't keep. If I say I can't do it, baby, I cannot do it. Point blank and period. And what else I can do is try to make sure with intention, I want the mayor's office to reflect our community. And our community is a very diverse community. So our mayor's office needs to be very diverse. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. We'll move to Mr. James Steward.
Again, I want to echo what Mr. Carter just said. Thank you for having this event. Is my mic on? Can y'all hear me in the back? My name is James Steward. I have a wife and 4 kids. I've been married for close to 40 years. Most of you know me as a captain with the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office. But I spent 32 years in the United States military, 14 years as a command sergeant major. A command sergeant major job is to work year-round taking care of soldiers. I was reserve component, but I had active duty personnel stationed under me. My staff was the same as what the mayor has right now. Human resources, to training, to every element that you would take to run a city, the command sergeant major was responsible for that. My staff was not reserve component. I was attached to active duty. My appointment came from the Chief of Staff of the Army. Doing that job, the command sergeant major had to have the knowledge of every element that it would take to run that military base. And as command sergeant major, I learned those jobs. I learned what the HR's responsibility was. I learned what economic development was to be able to develop a military base. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you for your response. We'll move to Mr. Nic Hunter.
Thank you. Good evening, and to Deltas, thank you for hosting us this evening. It's important that the community have a chance to see what we're all about and hear what has happened over the last 8 years and what we hope to have happen over the next 4 years. My name is Nic Hunter, and I've been honored to be mayor for the last 8 years. Someone recently asked me, what is your platform? What are you going to run on? And I really gave them 3 words, and it's my track record. We're going to talk about facts. My campaign and my team, we're going to talk about facts. We're going to talk about reality, and we're going to talk about the track record. And there's been a lot that's happened over the last 8 years that has brought this city forward. There's been a lot that we have been through together over the last 8 years. 2020 and 2021 were some of the roughest years in this city's history. And going through that experience was difficult for everyone. It was difficult for everybody in this room. It was difficult for everyone in the city. It was difficult for me and my family. But I am proud of the strides we have made since those times. When you drive around this city, you still see strides that need to be made, absolutely. But with what we have been through and where we are today, I am proud of the accomplishments. And once again, if we can look at the track record and talk about facts and talk about reality, I hope that others will feel the same. So I'm honored to be here, and I thank you.
Thank you for your response. We'll move to Mr. Marshall Simien.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for having me. Thank you all for coming out, because this is going to be a very, very important election, very, very important race for the office of mayor, because unlike what's been told to you, the city has not fully recovered. I've been in places that have not seen any type of recovery. But I stand before you today to run for mayor of the city of Lake Charles as the most qualified candidate in this race, not just in education, but also in public service experience. I am a graduate of McNeese State University in government, not the politics. I have a law degree from LSU. I've been a practicing attorney for the past 33 years, representing some of the largest businesses in our area, but also our families. And that is what drove me here to run for this race today, because I've seen unnecessary suffering by families who are trying to make it, and they're hitting the wall every time. My public service, I would put my record of public service against anyone. I served on the city council for 2 terms. When I got on the city council a month later, Hurricane Rita and Katrina hit our area, and we recovered. We passed a $90 million bond issue. I represented District A and ran it like a city. And as a result, by the time I got off the council, Lake Charles had the strongest economy in the United States. But even before then, I got a chance to serve. The governor appointed me to serve on the Port of Lake Charles board. We built LaBerge Casino. We also signed contracts where Lake Charles is now, Southwest Louisiana is now the strongest LNG exporter in the whole world. So I'm running because I'm seeing things that are happening in our city. I think fiscally, we can put things in a better place to help our people, and I think we need to really get serious about it. So I look forward to talking to you, and I thank you for coming today.
Thank you for your opening remarks. We will proceed with the opening questions of the forum. Again, you'll have a 1-minute response with a 30-second rebuttal. I'll limit the number of rebuttals as well as the candidates that are giving the rebuttals depending on how often you are taking that option. The forum will run approximately an hour and a half, and that is an approximation of time. Around 45 to the 50-minute mark, we'll have a 5-minute intermission and then come back to finish the remainder of questions. Anyone have any questions?
No, madam.
Great, thank you. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates. The forum is for educational purposes only. We'll start with Mr. Khalid Taha. What is your overall vision for Lake Charles over the next 4 years? And what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Lake Charles? And what do you plan to do to address those challenges?
Ready? If I elected as a mayor, I would like to create more jobs, try to bring more people to the city. My vision is I want it better city for Lake Charles, safer for our citizen. Okay, we can create more jobs, and we need to connect with McNeese, with the city of Lake Charles and Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, so we can all be on the same page. We need to create jobs, and the jobs will bring more money to our city, and the city will have more money that they can use towards their projects. It's very, very important to encourage tourism. Tourism is number one tax bringing money to the city without being anything done. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any rebuttals? Thank you for your response. We'll move to Mr. Wilford Carter. How will you ensure transparency and accountability in your administration?
Ensuring transparency and accountability is actually coming up with a team and making sure you communicate with everyone from the top to the bottom. We have departments that's not communicating with other departments. We have does not have an updated communication system. We have doesn't have a clear plan. If you don't have a clear plan, not just with the mayor department, but also with the city council, we need to most likely have a clear plan in order for us to all go at one time in one direction. And so that's one of the biggest issues, and we have to make sure that we are communicating not only with the elected officials, but also the employees that are employed with Lake Charles, Louisiana, as well as the community. I think every mayor should walk around this community or drive around the 48 square miles of this city and make sure you speak to business owners, make sure you speak to teachers, make sure you speak to the police officers as well as homeowners, so you can ensure that you are serving them correctly. So that's one of the things that we must do.
Thank you. Mr. James Steward. Mr. Khalid Taha expressed statements of bringing more jobs to Lake Charles. What are your plans to attract business and jobs to the city?
My plan is to work with the governor and the congressional delegation to bring manufacturing jobs to Lake Charles. My vision is to bring 1,000 manufacturing jobs here to Lake Charles. In North Louisiana, the governor just announced in December that Meta is going to Shreveport. They're going to create 500 permanent jobs, 5,000 indirect jobs. My question is, why can't we have those jobs here also? They've also laid out plans to bring those manufacturing jobs here to Louisiana. The governor's laid out those plans. As mayor, I want to meet with the governor and let him know that we need manufacturing jobs here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a rebuttal.
I'm sorry, who was that?
I do.
Sure.
We can't, I believe we need to be a lot more proactive. The reason why we're not getting them is because we're not going after them. We can't wait on people to come here and invest and look into our jobs. I think we actually have to go out and talk to other and look at the exact people that we're looking for to come to Lake Charles. We have to manage our growth, and we can't rely on the governor. He has a whole state to rely on. We have to focus on ourselves. If he helps us, that's all great. But if we have to focus on ourselves and be very, very proactive and go and get those jobs and bringing them back to Lake Charles.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is there a rebuttal?
Oh, no rebuttal. He just finished off what I was trying to say.
Mr. Nic Hunter, this question will be for you. If we could have the audience please be silent so that we don't lose time. Mr. Nic Hunter, along the same theme of jobs and growth as the incumbent with 8 years in office, what are your plans to ensure that the infrastructure and the competitive environment of Lake Charles, Louisiana remains relevant to attract jobs and growth to the city?
Well, particularly with economic development, what we did under our administration is set up proactive economic development districts. These were not things that had been done in the past, and we have seen results from those. I actually started a list of all the new businesses that have located in Lake Charles over the last 8 years, and the list got to be ridiculous because it was dozens of new businesses in this area that represent economic diversity. You can go to multiple areas of this city and see new businesses that you did not see 8 years ago. Additionally, with infrastructure, we are far more resilient today than we were 8 years ago. We have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into our infrastructure. From a housing perspective, we are the most resilient city in the state of Louisiana from a per capita standpoint. Our drainage is leagues better than it was 8 years ago. Our water and wastewater have received significant investments, as well as our roads. Our infrastructure is far better than it was in the past.
We'll go to Marshall
No rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
Okay, for the last 20 years, I've been involved in politics. Nothing has been changed. We still have the same problems: economic development and civic center, safety for our city, sewage, drainage, infrastructure, potholes, hazardous road to drive on. For 20 years, yes, we have worked some on the drainage, but we still have the same issues over and over. And this is not acceptable. When you go to another city, you can see a lot of things different, and you're trying to bring it here to Lake Charles, and it's not acceptable.
Thank you, Mr. Taha.
Had a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yes, I don't know what city we're talking about, because the city I'm seeing, if you look at just along the eastern corridor, you've got more businesses that are closing and boarding up. And that means people are losing jobs, businesses are losing revenue. We've lost the tallest building in our city, and people were celebrating that. But you look right down the street at Lafayette. No, Lafayette just got a Buc-ee's. We don't have the infrastructure to attract those kind of businesses. So the infrastructure that we're talking about fixing right now is just the stuff that's already in place.
Thank you, Mr. Simien. Additionally, this question is posed to you with a segue from your response as a rebuttal. How do you plan to support local small business and entrepreneurs, considering you just stated that we do not have the infrastructure to support certain systems?
You know, we have a seed center in Lake Charles that has been giving support to businesses. We already have the ingredients. We've got a community development financial institution that can take on the types of loans that other banks would not do. We need to we have a community development corporation to get in and get people, because you have people that have great ideas for business, but they don't have the back office support. I'm looking at, after 5 years, Ball's Fried Chicken, which is a brand name that sells itself, Anna's Pies, brand name that sells itself, and all these things are just not being made. So part of it is going to be give those business owners the support, but also enhance the programs at Swella and McNeese that's going to give business owners the training that they need. You know, how many of them know how to balance their books, do QuickBooks, do payroll, do those things? But also, how many of them need the HR support to hire qualified employees but give them true living wages so they can go out and support their families? So we have to do a holistic approach. It can't be just, oh, I'm keeping a track of the names of businesses. We have to make them work.
Have a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
I've been to the Seed Center. I'm a business owner, I'll be honest with you. The Seed Center is like taking a class in college. If you don't own a business, it's hard to teach me how to run a business. What we really need is a mentorship program with people that's already have a business for the last 10 years to mentor other people that's beginning the business. Next thing we need to do is we need to attract people, visitors to our city so they can patronize our place. And last but not most, We need to promote. Instead, we're the government. The government spend more money than anyone. We need to promote every
Carter.
business we possibly
Thank
can.
you, Mr. Carter.
I have a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
Talking about the city, if we were talking about inside the United States, why we don't have a small Houston like here? Every Friday and Saturday, you talk to the business owner, everybody making money. When I talk to my friends here who has businesses, they're all struggling. You can go to Dallas, Texas the same way. If you want to be internationally, we just came back from Dubai. Why we don't have a small Dubai here in Lake Charles? If you want to talk about Europe and France, why we cannot have a small France right here in Lake Charles? We have the intellectual people, we have the rich people, we have all the diverse people, and here we can do it.
Thank you,
if we
Mr.
get
Khalid.
our point
We'll
to
go
it.
ahead and start over with Mr. James Steward. This will be your question. How will you address crime and improve public safety in Lake Charles? And how will you address the issues of gun control?
First thing you have to do is raise the pay. The Lake Charles Police Department make less than the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office. They're currently probably around 20 officers short. They only run maybe 6 or 7 police officers per shift. A lot of people don't know this. My proposal is to raise their pay to $50,000 starting salary. That's police, fire, and the marshal's office, with a supplemental pay of $700 a month or $600 a month after the first year. And I believe if I do that, then we'll start retaining them.
Have a rebuttal.
Do you recuse the time? Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Marshall Simien.
Yeah, I think public safety is not just putting the burden on the police, because I think they're stressed out already with some of the things that's happening. The real issue is you've got a lot of people out there there's a lot of energy in this city that's not being directed properly, and the streets are waiting for them. So we need to have robust programs in our recreation centers, not just basketball and baseball, but things that the children want to come in and play and interact and get that energy focus. Give them some job training, give them some education, and let them go out and be children.
Thank you,
I have
Mr.
a
Simien.
rebuttal as well.
Go ahead.
I don't think the increase in pay for police officers is going to, it's still going to be, that don't increase the training. Just because you increase their pay, this is going to be a well-paid person that's not trained. We need to increase the training. We also have to have police be accountable for their actions. And we also have to make sure the police officers have a communication and a relationship with everyone in their community. One of the biggest problems we have now in our police force is you have African Americans are over 45% of the population, but the police force is 15%.
Mr. Taha, this will be your question. What are your plans for supporting first responders, including policemen, firefighters, and emergency medical services?
I will go out of my way to find money to support the city police. The city police is pathetic. The local government should feel ashamed of themselves. They make $36,000 to $42,000 coming out from police academy. They're the one who protecting our city. When we go to work, when we go to sleep, they're the one who's putting their life on line. The same thing as teachers, you know. If I get elected, I'm gonna go and get some grants, some help with the donations, and contribute it to the city police. We need to hire good quality police officers, but with this kind of pay, we're not. The police department doing their job very well, but they're shorthanded and they're underestimated and underpaid. If I get elected, I will make sure they get rewarded for their hard work, and I will make sure that they're gonna get raised. We're not gonna raise taxes. We're just gonna go inside and see what they have.
Thank you, Mr.
I have a
Taha.
rebuttal, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
When I came into office, police were making low $30,000 range. That starting pay for a police officer today is over $40,000. I also take offense to anyone calling our police department, our police officers, pathetic.
I did not say
you
pathetic.
did.
I said
Please
lovely.
silence yourself.
And also, when you add in health insurance, when you add in retirement, that entire package for a police officer starting pay is close to $60,000 for the entire package.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
I have a rebuttal as
A
well.
rebuttal,
I have a
too.
rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yes, the policemen, you've got to deal with not just the pay, but the morale issues. You know, our police and fire departments are recruiting people as hard as they can, bringing them in and training them. And when they can't make a true living wage to support their family, they're being cannibalized by all the localities over here. which that, any type of business, whether it's a city or a private business, you got to retain your people, and you have to keep them happy. And if people just cannibalize them off, they're not getting the pay that they need to support their families.
The question was yours. We're going to move to the next question. Mr. Wilford
no
Carter,
rebuttal?
in 2020 to 2021, several devastating disasters hit the city. During this time, the community and community organizations stepped up to help citizens because the city leader did not have a plan at that time. Since then, we've seen growth in some parts of the city, but not all. What is the plan to ensure fair, equal, and equitable disbursement of resources for all citizens and areas of the city? This is a community-based question.
Okay, community-based question. We already have a funding already set in place. Believe it's like $34 million that we already have in that funding. We need to increase that funding because one thing we know we're going to have another hurricane. So we definitely also have to be proactive, have a plan in place for when that hurricane comes, when the snow comes, whenever it comes. The next thing that we definitely have to do to make sure every community is taken care of, we need to diversify the mayor's office. We can't just make sure one side of the city is okay and then the other side is so-so. It's almost like we're putting up with one side of the city and making sure another side of the city is well taken care of. So once you diversify your entire team, then you can see through a lens that somebody else can't see. You can't get mad at someone when they lived on the south side of town all their lives and then don't see the value that they have in North Lake Charles. So we got to have everyone in play so we can make sure every area is well taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
I have a rebuttal.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Mr. Simien.
Lubke. Look, the whole area there's a lot of areas in this city that are underperforming. In the northern part of town where I live and which I represented, that entire I-10 corridor is an ATM waiting to get activated. We just passed this Lake Charles rebound tax, and the only thing that I-10 is getting are trees. You just can't landscape these places. You have to activate them. So and I did a study back in 2017 that showed that corridor by itself could generate well over the $2.1 billion a year that's going to be used to build the I-10 bridge. So we need to just get our act
Thank you for your rebuttal.
May I offer a rebuttal, please?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I just
Mr.
want to pose
Hunter.
the question. I'm so glad you brought it up. Someone bring me the magic calculator that says $2.something billion a year will be generated in the city of Lake Charles alone to build an I-10 bridge. And I encourage anyone that has an inkling of understanding about math to make that work.
Thank you for your responses. We'll move to the next question. This question will be for Mr. Nic Hunter. With the construction of the I-10 River Bridge on the horizon, there are concerns about potential gentrification in North Lake Charles. How can we ensure that our vibrant community remain affordable and inclusive for all current residents and those to come? This is a community-fielded question.
Well, I think we have to look at the I-10 bridge as an opportunity, not an obstacle. It's got to be an opportunity. And that means more business, that means more traffic coming along that bridge. There's already a lot of people that don't want to travel on that bridge because they're, quite frankly, scared about the current conditions. So I believe a new I-10 bridge coming through will bring more opportunity. Additionally, the city is applying for what's called a Reconnecting Community Grant with HUD, which is designed specifically to reconnect communities that were affected by the interstate system going through them. So we're optimistic. We're hopeful we get that grant to better connect parts of the city that were affected by the I-10 corridor when it originally came through.
Thank you for your response.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Steward.
I'm glad you brought up the bridge. As your mayor, the first thing I would want to do is meet with the governor and let him know that the seniors, our veterans, and our disabled personnel should not be charged a fee to go back and forth across that bridge. Thank you.
Thank you for your response.
Have a rebuttal.
We'll hold on your rebuttal. Mr. Simien,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the plan for the underdeveloped areas in Lake Charles, particularly North Lake Charles? This is a community-fielded question.
I think if you look at the northern part of Lake Charles, you've got a lot of infrastructure already. People building in other areas and putting in roads and everything else. We've already got that. The only thing we need is some impetus on housing. And what's been happening is in the hurricane recovery, we're getting some HUD monies that's coming in. The state through Restore Louisiana is helping people rebuild their housing. But if you look at other places, the city is putting community development block grant funds out to help people develop what looks like barracks, you know. I tend to think that when I was a chair of the Community Foundation, we did the Just Imagine 50-year resiliency plan. And that plan said, let's identify some HUD funds, but let's leverage the private sector to come in. If you look at the mid-city transformation area from the mall to Sallier Street, from Nelson Road to Ryan Street, that whole area is about to get a $300 million infusion where those housing projects were on Lake Street, and that's going to transform that whole community, so it's going to look more like the Walnut Grove areas of the city than like a housing project. That's plug and play. We can do that anywhere else in the city if we put the energy there.
May I have a rebuttal, please?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Hunter.
There is over $20 million of private investment happening north of I-10 right now. And the idea that we have not invested in housing is just absolutely false. We just celebrated the 750th single-family home that has been either completely rebuilt or restored thanks to the Restore program and the city's HRP program. That house was on North Prater Street.
Can I have a rebuttal?
I have a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
Okay, I've been in Lake Charles for 43 years, continuous years, okay? For the last 20 years, we have not seen anything happening in North Lake Charles. Yeah, they built half of Enterprise Boulevard and put a couple of palm trees. Now we are developing the North Lake Charles. So the local government, if we keep having the same local government, this is exactly the same result you're gonna get. It's time to get a new faces and new ideas.
Please silence your voices in the audience.
It's time to get the new faces and new ideas to make things happen. There should not be North Lake Charles, South Lake Charles. It should be Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Thank you for your response. The next question will go to Marshall Simien.
Yes, ma'am.
How will you address affordable housing and the homelessness crisis in Lake Charles?
Well, on the affordable housing side, we have to really help develop the housing that's going to be resilient. On the Community Foundation, Project Build a Future is building a subdivision across from Conbreed Fondale Elementary School. Now, in order to build that house and make it more resilient, we've used some hurricane relief funds and added another $25,000 to that for the builders to go and build resilient homes. You know, where they put the beam in the slab and strap the house to it, put shadow-resistant windows, because we can build affordable housing, but if people can't afford the insurance, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So we've got to help. We've got a community development block grant program. We've got a home program that's already in place to help people with housing assistance, credit repair, down payment assistance. But at the same time, we have to take away the risk so that they can afford the insurance. And I think that's going to be the way to get people to do it, especially first-time home buyers.
Now for a quick rebuttal.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the $25,000 towards the Project Build a Few neighborhood. The city put up $750,000 towards that neighborhood.
Where?
Also, look at the record. We put it up. The city council voted on it. The Project Build a Future came to us and we said, absolutely, we love this project. Also, I agree with you on Enterprise Boulevard. It was actually a third that was built, and that was under this gentleman's tenure as city council.
I'll finish it.
I have a rebuttal.
Go ahead. We'll have your rebuttal, Mr. Carter.
I think both of these gentlemen have a valid point. We have had some improvements in housing. The only issue is we don't have enough, and it doesn't include the entire city. We need to get more money, and that includes grants. We don't need to hire grant writers. I got 3 grant writers I can see in this room right now that we need to utilize the people we have in this room, the contractors, the builders, and build more affordable homes. Once we build more affordable homes, give them opportunity to own those homes, or get grants so they can give down payments. Make sure that they have a clear understanding of what it is to own a home.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Steward, one of the things that was addressed in the housing homelessness question was property insurance and homeowners insurance. How do you plan to address the skyrocketing homeowners insurance and homestead?
As your mayor, I'll be going to Baton Rouge to meet with the legislators, to go before that committee, to be the voice for my city, to let them know that by raising insurance, whether it's on your vehicle or your home, will hurt the demographics of my city, will hurt Lake Charles as a whole. I will go to Washington, D.C. Right now, Senator Kennedy is working on a bill to try to lower the cost of flood insurance. One U.S. senator is blocking that bill. His name is Rand Paul from Kentucky. If Rand Paul from Kentucky has his way, then your flood insurance is going to triple, if not go 4 times what you're paying right now. And there are a lot of senior citizens and citizens in this city that will affect them. Their flood insurance will go up. If you're paying a house note, your insurance is going to go up. So as your mayor, I will be traveling to Baton Rouge and Washington, D.C. to argue before the Congress or the Senate to let them know that we need help. Keep the subsidies in place that will help lower the cost of insurance. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. A lot of discussion has been discussed around Enterprise Boulevard. Mr. Khalid, what are your plans with Enterprise Boulevard, and how do you plan to address the current owners of properties located on Enterprise?
This is very simple. The money that we have allocated for North Lake Charles will have all businesses. We try to give incentive for businesses to move into North Lake Charles. Automatically, we're gonna get more money for the city, and then we can enlarge the Enterprise Boulevard all the way to 171, like it's been talking about for the last 20, 30 years, okay? So we need to inform all the resident on Enterprise Boulevard that this will be expanded, and maybe we give them some incentive, buy their houses out, or just work around them or something. We're just gonna have to sit together and make the best decision to make everybody happy.
I have a rebuttal.
You recuse the time?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yes, Enterprise Boulevard should have been completed by now. I started Enterprise Boulevard, and then I was off the council, and it never completed itself. But that road works when it connects to 171. It's between two federal highways. The way to pay for it is you've already got federal highway funds that try to alleviate traffic on the highways, so you can always do that. The right-of-way has already been identified, the properties have been identified, and we did least impact to people. And I think that's going to be a transformational thing for the area, because if you look at it, the only time you've had
Thank
May I
you
offer
for
a
your
rebuttal,
rebuttal.
please?
Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
In the LC rebound proposal that passed in November of 2023, the Enterprise Boulevard completion is included. Again, to talk about facts and reality, not pie in the sky, I don't know where these magical federal dollars are that Mr. Simien is mentioning, but the project is $30 million. That doesn't just pop up out of the ground. That doesn't just pop up out of federal infrastructure funds.
Thank you for your response. The question is for Mr. Hunter. How will you engage with marginalized communities to address their specific concerns? And part of the community fielded question, will small businesses be affected by DEI?
Well, we'll engage with the community the way we always have. And I walk these neighborhoods, I visit these neighborhoods, I visit the entire city. I do have a diverse team that works with me. So we visit with business owners, we visit with residents. We're going to continue to do that. We've set up small business stabilization funds that helped a lot of small businesses in this community after the storms. So we're going to continue to do that. As far as the DEI question, we do have a small business and disadvantaged business division in the city of Lake Charles. There's a lot of other local municipalities and governments that don't have that. So we are constantly trying to help small and disadvantaged businesses.
have a rebuttal.
Thank you for your response. Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yeah, I'm not seeing where that's done. I'm seeing a number of business owners in here that's getting no assistance from the city, but I'm seeing money's put toward a museum, a Mardi Gras museum, a hurricane museum, all kinds of museums.
Hurricane
But
museum.
at the same time, well,
You put money towards the Hurricane Museum.
Children's museum.
The question
But-
is for Mr. Simien.
Yes, thank you. But at the same time, we have institutions that are right across the street from those areas. You look at Ball's Fried Chicken.
Oh, give me
You
a
look
break.
at you look at Sacred Heart Church, how it's devastated. You look at Anna's Pies. You look at Mr. Livings and his place. No
Thank you
support.
for your time.
That's totally ridiculous.
Let's go ahead and reset here so that we do not have an overlap of time or a waste of time within our community. People are here to hear professional, accurate responses that are
agree.
supportive to the resources that they need and that they are advocating for.
Thank you.
So today we'll continue in fairness and we'll give each other an opportunity to speak, as well as the audience will reserve their voices so that everyone can be heard. Thank you. We will go ahead and move to Mr. Wilford Carter. As it pertains to fairness and equality, what will you do to ensure that there is legal diversity of Lake Charles? This is a community-fielded question.
Glad you asked that question. If you look across the country, the most prosperous cities in the United States are the most diverse cities. We do not have a diverse management. We do not have a diverse mayor's office. What we have to do is be diverse with intention. I'm not saying someone that has lacked the skills or hire someone that is the most qualified. What I'm saying is give everyone, no matter what their color is, give them with intention the opportunity to apply for the job and have multiple people make a decision who gets that job. We have to, on purpose, actually diverse. The city, the mayor's office has to look exactly or similar to what the city, the people you represent.
I have another rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
As an African-American attorney in this town who's well qualified to do what I do, the problem that we're running into on a number of issues is that people aren't able to go through those glass ceilings or with the good old boy network that's blocking everybody. There's some very talented and qualified people out here who can do any of the work that's needed in the city, in this parish, in the state, but they're not getting the opportunity. And people hide behind things like DEI to say, you're not qualified. But I've met some very, very talented and qualified people who I know, if given the opportunity, they will rise to
May I
the
offer a
top.
rebuttal,
Thank
please?
you for your rebuttal. Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
We've talked about opportunity, and I would just like to set the record straight since Mr. Simien keeps talking about Ball's Fried Chicken. KZWA has received a small business grant from the City of Lake Charles. Max Barbershop on Enterprise Boulevard has received a small business grant from the City of Lake Charles. Ball's Fried Chicken is in the process of applying for a small grant from the City of Lake Charles. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a brief redirect before our break and intermission. This question will be for Mr. Marshall Simien. I'm sorry, this is actually for Mr. James Steward to start. This is a community-fielded question. What is the plan for those who could not receive funding to rebuild their homes by Project Restore?
As mayor, I will come up with a plan. In order to do something like that, I would go back and meet with FEMA. I would meet with our congressional delegation. What a lot of citizens don't realize is that the most powerful congressman in Congress right now, this is his district, and his name is Mike Johnson. So I believe that if I sit down with Mike Johnson, Congressman Mike Johnson, and our United States senators, we should be able to get the help that we need to help our seniors and disabled finish their homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
We all citizens of Lake Charles, north, south, black, white, whatever. We're all one citizen. If we get the money to fund, nobody in Lake Charles should be affected by the hurricane. If they don't have the money, if they don't get the fund, we all should stick together and help each other. Try to find some funding, try to get some donation. We have chemical plants, we got the casinos, we got the government. We can try to get some money, try to help our
Thank you for your
needy
rebuttal.
people.
We have time for one more question. We'll start with Mr. Wilford Carter. What advocacy will be brought to the City Council in reference to the underpaying jobs of city employees?
Not only just city employees are underpaid, all public officials, all public service people are underpaid. So we have to advocate from the state as well as the federal government to assist us with increasing their pay. Not only increasing their pay, but also increasing benefits as well. The state is okay with increasing benefits, but for some reason they don't want to increase pay. So it's up to us to find ways to increase our revenue. The way we increase our revenue is invite other people, economic development, and increase money into our state. Once we increase money into our state, then we can also have opportunities to tax not only our citizens, but tax visitors that's coming through our state. Use that funding to also pay for our city employees as well as other other people like teachers. I love teachers because that's what I am. That's what I do, and I know they're completely underpaid. So we have to be resourceful and find ways to increase their pay as well as their benefits.
I have a rebuttal.
Thank you for your time. We'll hold your rebuttal, Mr. Simien. Does anyone else have a rebuttal? Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
Yeah, one of the things, like I said before, jobs, money. When we have jobs and people, I mean jobs and people. When we have a lot of people coming to the city, they're gonna spend some money. They're gonna spend some taxes, and taxes automatically will go for the city. We can use that amount of taxes and help replenish the police department and the city employees' salary. And I have a lot of other ideas, but we'll talk about it later.
Thank you for your response.
Don't wanna expose
Are there any
myself.
other rebuttals to the
I
question?
have one.
Oh, I can.
I have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Steward.
I recorded a video talking about our first responders and firefighters and city employees. And my proposal, if I become the mayor, is $50,000 a year, plus supplement for our fire, police, and city marshals, and give all of our city employees a raise. The money is there. In 2015, a quarter-cent sales tax was passed. It was a 25-year tax to just give city employees a raise.
Thank you for your rebuttal.
Thank you.
At this time, we will end the first half of the forum. We'll take a 5-minute intermission and come back at 18:55.
Military time.
Y'all ladies doing a great job. You ain't in there, girl. Look at you. Look at you.
Mr. Taha, Mr. Simien, Mr. Carter. We're about to begin again. Thank you so much for coming. Hold on.
Thank you all for returning from intermission. For those of you who have just made it, thank you for your time and commitment and sacrifice to be here. Again, for the second half, the same rules apply. You'll have a question from me with a 1-minute response, 30-second rebuttal, and we'll go from there. Does anyone have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Great. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates. The forum is for educational purposes only. We'll go ahead and begin. We'll start with Mayor Nic Hunter. A community-fielded question. One moment. As the incumbent who has been in the mayoral seat for a period of 8 years, do you plan to diversify the number of employees that participate and as employed as department heads?
We always look for diversity, but what we look for is the most qualified individual. I would never hire or promote someone just because of their ethnicity, and I would always entertain any interview, no matter what that person's background is, to try to choose the best person for the job. We have done that, and I'll continue to do that.
Thank you for your time.
Have a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
I am the best qualified candidate for mayor.
I have rebuttal. I disagree.
I have
Thank you
actually a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
My rebuttal is the best qualified is simply but a myth. Everyone has a job. We have a person that probably been working that job for 20 years and they horrible. You can have a person, the first day on the job will be the best teacher you ever have. So saying you're overqualified, that's simply a myth. The question right here is, who has the best style of leadership to move this city of Lake Charles to the next level, period. That's what it is.
Thank you for your rebuttal. Mr. Steward and Mr. Simien, those will be counted as 30-second rebuttals on your timing, okay? Thank you for your time. We'll go ahead and move to Mr. Carter. More development, including restaurants, could potentially disrupt the natural landscape, wildlife habitats, and overall scenic value of the lakefront. How do you plan to address these issues and concerns?
Economic development is extremely important, especially when you come to a business, a restaurant, or any other business. But you have to manage your growth. You cannot grow at an unrapid rate because your infrastructure will not survive, and some of the things that are cherished to Lake Charles, that make Lake Charles a real paradise, may not survive. So you have to be careful and manage it correctly. And it can't be just managed by me. It has to be managed by a collective, and the collective have the best interest at heart, and the best interest at heart is the true natural resources that we have in Lake Charles. So we got to make sure that we look at our natural resources as well as look at the profitability of what we're doing in one area. There are some areas that we've used the wetlands as an excuse to not to build, and it's really not a wetland. We got to look at that area. What are we doing? What are we doing with that area? Use our resource, our natural resources, along with bringing in new companies, new businesses, but the collective has to all agree that it's a safe and a well way to grow and a management growth.
Thank you for your response. In segue to a community-fielded question, this question will be for Mr. Marshall Simien. Plans for economic development between I-210 and the Calcasieu River that does not include Mexican restaurants or fried chicken restaurants. How do you plan to address the simplicity of business establishments that continue to repeat themselves in Lake Charles?
I think we need to diversify our economy. If you look at what they call the MSA, that's where the people are coming in to spend and do things. Restaurants will get you about 20 minutes drive time, but entertainment, people will drive up to 3 hours for that. So I think if we did things along our lakefront, like indoor water parks, Dave & Buster's, Top Golfs and things like that, I think you're going to see a whole different set of economics hit our place where it's going to support the restaurants. Remember, the whole thing is not for them to compete with each other, but to make them complement, because you don't want to cannibalize the market. So in terms of restaurants, I think the public is going to drive that, the demand. But if you put the right things around it, I think there's going to be enough pie for everybody.
May I offer a rebuttal, please?
Absolutely.
The project, Port Wonder, is estimated to bring an additional 400,000 people a year to our lakefront. Crying Eagle Lakefront is under construction right now and will be finished in the next 2 months, 3 months. That is not a Mexican restaurant. It's not a fried chicken restaurant. We have had multiple restaurants open in the area that are not those types that you mentioned, but specifically with the lakefront. Look where we are today and look where we have been for the last 20 years. 8 of which were under Mr. Simien's tenure as city councilman. So I am proud of what we've accomplished on the lakefront.
Thank you for your response. Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
We have not gotten anything accomplished in Lake Charles, especially on the Civic Center. Port Wonder, okay, I respect that. 400 people a year? That's probably for the first year. What about the next 20 years? We use this property for no reason. We could have put restaurants, we can put gyms for our children that in the summertime they don't have a place to go. We could have done a lot of things. We can have more restaurant. We can have a French restaurant. We used to have Café Largo. I don't know what happened. We have French restaurant. We can have Japanese. We can have all kind of diversity.
Thank you for your response. This question is for you, Mr. Taha. Residents or stakeholders may prefer green spaces, parks, or outdoor recreation over the said commercial establishments. What are your plans for accommodating these requests?
Amen. I love parks. I'm a family man. Every Sunday we used to take our kids to the park and we barbecue, play soccer and all this. Now for our kids, that unfortunate kids, they have nothing to do during the summertime. We don't have enough recreational. We don't have enough park for them. We only have Riverside and Prion Lake. That's the only 2 beautiful parks we have. We got the money, we got the people, we got the information. We can do better. For 20 years, I mean, what else? Last night, my wife and I, we drove in the Civic Center. We got thirsty. We could not find a place to get a drink or a Coke or coffee, for God's sake. We've been talking about this for the last 3 decades. Let's put something there for the people on the Civic Center.
May I offer a rebuttal, please?
Once the timers are stopped, you can call for rebuttal.
Okay.
You may go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you. We have many more parks in this city besides just the two that Mr. Taha mentioned. Under my administration, rather than pass a new tax to make improvements to our parks, we launched Partners in Parks, an effort that has injected over $1.7 million of private funds into our parks. We have more diverse programming and more exciting programming at our parks for families than we have had in the last 2 generations.
I'm talking.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Taha, the question was yours. This next question will go to Mr. James Steward. As economic progress is discussed, majority of our economy is fossil fuel dependent. What are your plans to create better jobs, better diverse jobs, away from the fossil fuel dependency? This is a community fielded question.
Manufacturing jobs. My vision for Lake Charles is to bring manufacturing jobs, such as the microchip plants that they're trying to find places around the country to build. Right now, the federal government is subsidizing companies to build microchip companies. Manufacturing is coming back to the United States. I envision an auto parts manufacturing company, where alternators, starters, brake shoes, all parts of a car that was being built in Mexico and Canada now is now coming back to the United States. As your mayor, I will be talking to our congressional delegation and our senators to bring those jobs here to Lake Charles, Louisiana. Boeing is losing jobs. We need more manufacturing jobs here now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
Okay, I agree with Mr. Stewart, but businesses, why should they come to Lake Charles? There's nothing we can offer them. I tried so many businesses in Lake Charles. I almost kissed their, you know what, just for them to come to Lake Charles. They said there's nothing in Lake Charles they can offer us. So if I'm the mayor, I will give them some tax incentive, maybe 50% pay tax, maybe no tax for the first year till they take off. When we have more businesses, we have more people coming in, we have more money for the city.
Thank you for your rebuttal, Mr. Taha. We'll go ahead and go to Mr. Nic Hunter. What is your approach to continuing to manage the city budget, and how will you adapt to the potential changes from recent presidential executive orders?
Well, we're going to continue to have a balanced budget as we always have. We're going to continue to be fiscally responsible. Going into healthy debt is not a bad thing. We've accomplished amazing things with drainage by doing that, but we have never, since I've been mayor, not met our targeted fund balance at the end of the year. We have never had to dip in or cut services. And I would also like to say there's been a lot of conversation about a lot of things that everybody wants to do for these departments or exorbitant promises. There's several ways where those things can happen. Either you drastically cut services, you raise taxes, or you have a promise that you make and you cannot keep. But we have had sound fiscal policy over the last 8 years, and we'll continue to do that under my administration.
Have a
Thank
rebuttal.
you for your response. Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yeah, there's no fiscal responsibility when you're putting money into children's museums, Mardi Gras museums, putting monies out there, just putting it on the street. I-10, just planting trees. The fiscal responsibility means that the city should not be buying the Capital One property, $3 million, and taking that property out of commerce, because that property generates about $140,000 in taxes. Like Mr. Taha was saying, the city doesn't pay taxes. Our downtown, all of those areas don't pay taxes.
Thank you for your rebuttal, Mr. Simien. Mr. Taha, the question is for you, community fielded. What are the plans to entertain and positively encourage the youth of Lake Charles to add value to our education systems?
Yeah, I will open more parks for our children. I will have tutoring centers to help our children to advance in their education. I will have more gyms, more parks, just to keep them busy. I get them involved in volunteering. Volunteering is a wonderful thing to do for our community. And we create jobs. We give them part-time jobs if get permission from their parents if they're underage. There's a lot of things we can offer our children. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your response.
I have a rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
This is my baby. I deal with kids all the time. What we need is more programs for kids. We need mentorships for kids. We need a kid to have a clear understanding of where they're headed, and we have to have a connection with kids. We don't have that right now. We're under attack. Public school system is under attack right now by the state as well as the federal government. We need to figure out a way to come up with more reading programs as well as connect mentors to each kid in the state of Louisiana for 4 years. Not just in Lake Charles, but also in the state of Louisiana for at least 4 years.
Thank you for your rebuttal.
I have a rebuttal too.
Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
Yes, I think our programs need to be enhanced to target the kids. I mean, the kids are kind of left on the wayside. Ward 3, Kip Taha, Ward 3 does a phenomenal job coming up with programs. I built Riverside Park because when I was a child, some of the basic things were that we'd go out there. The older gentlemen who were retired taught us how to fish. They were playing dominoes. They taught us how to play dominology, and along the way, they were talking to us about life. So those kind of interactions, mentorship, programs that targets the kids, but also fixes their value
Thank you
system.
for your rebuttal.
May I offer a quick rebuttal?
Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
I just want to say again, please take a look at the city's Facebook page and see the amount of events and programs we have at our parks. We have more programming aimed at youth today in this city than we have had in 2 generations.
Can I have just one rebuttal?
No, you had a rebuttal and the question was yours. Thank you for your concerns. We'll go ahead and go to Mr. Simien. How do you plan to engage with residents to gather more input on their local responses to current issues affecting Lake Charles, as well as those that stream down from the from the federal to the local?
I think the mayor's office needs to have a state of the city of Lake Charles. I think that's an honest, transparent engagement with the citizens to tell them about what is happening in our city, what the energy is going into, and get their input and go back to each of the different areas and talk to people and say, what do you need? And you're going to hear this. I've done that on the campaign trail. You're hearing the same thing. People said we're behind in infrastructure. We don't have anything for the kids to do. Money's being wasted on fantasy projects instead of things that's going to really help move our city forward. Some people say we want I-10 development. Some people say we want 210 development. Other people saying we need resilient housing, but we also need to not make it unaffordable for people. So it's not a matter of pie in the sky how you pay for it. It's a matter of redirecting your resources and putting them to the best use, because you got to plant a mustard seed if you want to bear fruit.
Thank you for your response. Any rebuttals?
As the mayor of Lake Charles, what I would do
Are you
different-
calling for rebuttal?
Yes, I did. I thought you heard me.
Thank you, Mr. Steward. Go ahead.
As mayor of Lake Charles, what I would do different than the current mayor is I would make sure all 800 employees know what I'm doing. If I have a project that's gonna happen in the city, I want the public works guy, the guy that's cutting grass, I want them to know what I'm doing. I want those employees to be my voice in the community, to be able to pass the message to you on what the mayor is bringing to the city in the future. And by gathering feedback from them, I know what to come back with.
Thank you for your response. The question is yours, Mr. Carter. How do you plan to improve healthcare access in Lake Charles, particularly to those who are underserved and underrepresented?
We all know that we have a health issue going on, and what we have to do is educate. My sister is a nurse, so we argue about this all the time. The healthcare system is breaking down, it is failing. So what we need to do is have some type of initiatives, not only with the healthcare system, but also people that have healthcare, and give them some type of incentive to use our system, as well as use some type of subsidies so they won't have to be a burden when it comes to finances. Okay? We also have to make sure that we educate people on not just a regular health care is not very healthy for us. What we're eating is not very healthy for us. We have to educate people. Also make sure we have senior citizens, as well as teenagers, have workout sessions. We have to, we still don't even work out in high school. I have no idea why. But we also have to educate us on what we eat, how we eat, and also be aware of processed foods. I know it's going way far behind healthcare.
Thank you for your
and utility
response.
stuff.
We'll go ahead and move to Mr. James Steward. How do you envision the role of technology in Lake Charles as we are developing, evolving, and approaching more AI, meta, and technologies that are unknown to us as of today.
I think I brought that up a little bit earlier in the conversations about bringing manufacturing jobs here, bringing an AI factory. AI is going to Shreveport, Louisiana. I'd also like to see a microchip plant here, but also a small AI here. They're trying to develop that all over the United States. So as your mayor, I will be trying to get out there. I will be getting out there to meet with who I need to meet with to bring those companies here. And also develop a section within the mayor's office so we can better understand what AI is and what it's going to, how it's going to affect our community.
Mayor, but
Thank you for your response. Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
and this is what I do in my practice. Businesses are going to come when you can show them that you're already structured to bring them in. Chenault is probably the most undeveloped economic resource we have in the city. When I was on the Port of Lake Charles, we took what was basically a mud bank and turned it into a casino, and look at what's happening there. So when people are looking to locate, they're looking at what are you going to give to us? You can't show them an open field and say, can you build it? That's not the way it works. We need to have more hangars out there. We need to have robust programs that Swell and Mac needs to train.
Thank you for your rebuttal.
May I offer a rebuttal, please?
Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
Just since Mr. Simien mentioned Chenault, I appreciate that. I'd like to just call out a few new businesses that we have at Chenault. PSS, ProServe, Citadel Completions, a $20 million Louisiana National Guard Readiness Center, which is designed to help with storm recovery, emergency recovery. So I appreciate you bringing up Chenault, and I agree, Chenault has been one of the most lowest hanging fruits we have for economic development, and we have seized upon that over recent years.
Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
I want to thank Mr. Simien and Mayor Nic Hunter for all this beneficial information. If this is true, which I know is true, where are the taxes going? Why we're not seeing that extra taxes that come in from those businesses?
I have a rebuttal.
Thank you for your response. Go ahead, Mr.
The question
Carter.
was about artificial intelligence. We have to educate ourselves more and embrace artificial intelligence because it is here, it's not coming, it's already here. We can use artificial intelligence to improve the streets, improve policing, and look at the productivity of each department and what it's using. If we use it properly, we also need to add classes to teach our youth about artificial intelligence as well. This is very, very important that we all understand artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. So we got to make sure that we use it to the best of our ability
Thank you
and
for
partner
your
up,
response.
partner up with other
We'll go to
cities.
Mayor
that's doing
Nic Hunter.
artificial intelligence.
When it comes to funds going to North Lake Charles, it appears those funds go to Moss Bluff, which is Lake Charles. Where are the funds for Gosport, Fisherville, Car Shop, etc.? That is a community fielded question.
Well, we have spent millions of dollars under our administration on the areas you just mentioned. I could show you a laundry list of projects. I could show you streets that are paved now that when I came into office were literal dirt. We have invested in drainage. I have gone out of my way to try and show areas of the city that have seen disinvestment, more investment, and I'm proud of those investments, not only on the public side, but I just mentioned a moment ago, over $20 million north of I-10 is happening in private investment right now. If you've not driven down Enterprise Boulevard lately from Broad Street to I-10, please do that and see the fruits of our labor. The Enterprise Boulevard Economic Development District has produced results. So yes, you can point out areas in the city that still need attention, and it's taken generations for us to get there. It's not going to happen overnight, but I am proud of the investments we've made, and I believe they've made a difference.
Thank you for your response.
We gonna all have
Go
a
ahead,
rebuttal of
Mr.
that.
Carter.
Yeah, I live in Lake Charles, North Lake Charles. I've been born and raised in North Lake Charles. I've walked as well as drove. I've walked as well as drove every street. Let's be fair. It's not, we don't know where all this money is going. There's no way all that money going to a road. I done seen roads be done. My dad done roads. So yeah, I don't have no idea where it's going. So we have to have accountability for every dollar and where it's going. And we need to be more intention on economic development, not just building roads, but actual economic development that really, really works for that community.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
I don't know how I'm going to say this. What's appropriate word than ashamed? Whenever I go to North Lake Charles, and South Lake Charles, that's two different things. Why South Lake Charles? When I go, it's safe. I feel good. When I go to North Lake Charles, it's completely the opposite. People, we are the same people. We're all Cajun. We're all Lake Charles. There should not be North Lake Charles, South Lake Charles. And I promise if I become
Thank
the
you,
mayor,
Mr.
it'll be
Taha,
only
for
one
your
Lake
time.
Charles.
I got a
We'll
rebuttal,
go
his
ahead
rebuttal.
and go to Mr.
Can I have a rebuttal on the
Simien.
rebuttal?
We're going to move to the next question.
I feel safe in North Lake
I
Charles.
feel safe to let North Lake
How will
Charles
you,
too.
Mr. Simien, how will you address concerns, excuse me, what initiatives do you propose to support youth engagement related to workforce development?
I think we need to identify the talent in the youth that's out there. The schools are the best resources. Conbury-Fondale Elementary School is right by my house. They have a STEM program, and the children that are in that STEM program are coming from all over the community because that talent has been identified. Some people aren't going to go to college, but they can get a well level of life by getting a trade. You know, we need to do expungements for people that made mistakes when they were young, and now they're just out of the system. And we're about to see about $60 billion worth of investment come into this area. You're going to have to find a reason not to give a person a job, but the only thing that's keeping them out are that they were convicted of stupid things when they were young, and nobody will give them the forgiveness that they need to go out there and support their families. Many of them have children. Those children need a father and a mother, and if you don't put that family together, we're going to have a generational drag on our city and our economy, and those kids are going to meet our kids.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Steward, this question will be for you. What are your plans to address the blighted communities, neighborhoods, and properties that remain blighted next to residences who are still occupied in the city of Lake Charles?
Good question. The problem, I've been attending the city council meetings here lately, and 75% of what they discuss is blighted properties that need to be torn down. A lot of citizens today don't want mom and dad's house torn down, so they'll go before the city council and ask for extension after extension. The only thing that I would do as mayor is try to get a grant program started so that those whose homes were torn up by the storms, they would be able to apply for a city grant to be able to get that house repaired. What I'm seeing in city council meetings, if someone comes forward and says, my home was torn down, my insurance wasn't enough, that's nowhere for them to go to ask for money to finish the home. So I'm not sure if the mayor currently has that type of program, but I want to have that type of program as mayor to be able to help our seniors and our disabled and whoever did not receive enough insurance.
May I offer a rebuttal, please?
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
We do have that program. We have dozens of programs. At the end of the day, there are only certain things you can do with public funds. So if they have expended all other options, nonprofits, churches, we try to work with those, but we have dozens of programs to help people. HRRP and the city's rebuild program, which uses regular CDBG dollars on an annual basis. HRRP was a program that I went and fought tooth and nail to get $13 million from Baton Rouge and the feds for, and we got
Thank
it.
you for your
I have a
response.
rebuttal.
Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
I've been going to the city council meetings and zoning and police jury for the last 20 years. Okay, it's not like I decided I want to run for the mayor just for that. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I attended the city council meeting. All I've seen in this meeting is demolished houses, given 60 days, 30 days. That's houses being damaged by Hurricane Rita from 2020. So we are in 2025, 5 years later, and houses still damaged, and nothing has been done to them. So we have to give them an
Thank
offer.
you for your response. Go ahead, Mr. Carter. Did you call for rebuttal?
I called
I
for
do.
one. I did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Simien.
And this is going to be short. I invite anyone to go and look at the St. Mary Drive housing development. That area had 60 families in it that they were living in black mold after the hurricane. They were moved out and put in the trailer homes, and they were moved to Ragley, and that's where they exist because they've been forgotten about. And when the snowstorm came, I had to ask the emergency responders to go and look because that whole area has a fence around it, but all the gates are open and all the doors are open. So I was more worried about what's going on in there if somebody starts a fire and people die. We are too rich a city for people to have to live
Thank
like
you
that.
for your response. At this time, we will go ahead and end our questions from both myself and the community. We will start from Mr. Taha all the way across to Mr. Carter with your 1 minute ending. Go ahead, Mr. Taha.
Okay, if I get elected as a mayor of Lake Charles, of my beautiful city, Lake Charles, I will promise.
And I'm sorry, it is 2 minutes. My apologies for
I already know
interrupting.
that.
2 minutes.
No problem. Yeah, as a mayor of Lake Charles, I promise I will reward the city police for their hard work and keeping our community safe. And I will make sure that I will create more jobs. I will try to get more people to come into Lake Charles. We'll try to help McNeese and Lake Charles to be on the same page to increase the attendance in McNeese and to have more businesses and more people coming in here. And the last thing I want to say, I can get some grants from the chemical plants. I'm a good talker, I'm a good convincer, I'm a good negotiator. I can get money, and that money will go for the Lake Charles City Police. And if I get elected at Lake Charles Police, my wife want to hear this, I will donate 50% of my salary goes straight to Lake Charles Police Department for their good work, for their hard commitment, for keeping us safe. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Do you recuse the rest of your time?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and end with a 2 minute response from Mr. James Steward.
To the first responders, I hear you. To the city employees, I will be there for you. To the citizens that sit at the kitchen table trying to decide what bills to pay, I hear you. To the husband and wives that are trying to find a higher paying job to live a better life, I see you. To the college graduate who just want to find a good job, I hear you. As your mayor, I'll work to bring manufacturing jobs to Lake Charles, fix our streets, drainage, sidewalks, and create a marketing section that will promote our city and small businesses to help our city grow. So on March 29th, vote James Steward for the next mayor of Lake Charles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steward. Do you recuse the remainder of your time? Please use your words.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Simien.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's important that you take valuable time because this is a very important election. You've heard us talk, but you're going to hear a lot more over the next few weeks. And I can say, I'm not talking about small grants, small things, money that's going out that you can see no effect with. This city is an amazing city. It just needs to operate. You're going to hear me say it a lot. Lake Charles itself is an 8-cylinder engine. I learned that when I got on the port board, when I got on the city council. It's operating on about 2 cylinders. And the reason why it's doing that because of 2 things. You got lack of vision and you've got lack of leadership. And I don't blame, I'm not blaming the current administration. I think they've maxed out on what they can do. But I ask you all to look at my track record of accomplishments, what I've been able to do, not in the mayor's position, on the city council, on commerce and industry, on the community foundation. I've been able to do some of the most transformational projects in the city. And it's not because I could do it myself, it's because I work well with people and we collaborate and bring the talent that we have. Like Mr. Taha said, we need to operate as one Lake Charles. We cannot continue to live in these silos and point at each other and make excuses for not doing things. So I want to do a few things. I want to get in and provide the leadership that we need, but I also want to build the bridges so that we can all understand the various communities, why we need to cross the bridges and be a part of each other in the first place. This city is amazing. There's a lot of places that have much less that's doing so much more. And I think we have the capability to do it, and it is our time. We've been through enough. And I'm tired of hearing about we've been all through this, the Hurricane Ravaged city. When I got off that city council, Lake Charles had the strongest economy in the entire United States. And that's about to happen again. But if you keep throwing hurricane money out on the streets with no rhyme or reason as to how you're gonna make it grow, we're gonna have at the end of the day just new trees along I-10. And that's a shame because our kids need a future.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Simien. We'll move to closing remarks with Mr. Hunter.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Simien mentioned the strongest economy from a hurricane, and he takes credit for that. So I will also take credit for the strong economy he mentions that's coming for the city of Lake Charles. And it's not only about things that are ahead of us, it's about things that we have done over the last 7 years. It is impossible to talk about where we are today without at least mentioning 2020 and 2021. And I would like to offer some remarks in my closing statements about some recent conversations I have had with people. I have had a conversation recently with a business owner on Ryan Street who said every time it rained in the past, I knew that we were going to have a terrible night in business because the drainage was so terrible. We don't see that anymore. I recently had a conversation with an architect who said for the first time in his 20-year career here in Lake Charles, people are talking about wanting to move back here because they're excited about the things they see. They're excited about the activity on the lakefront. They're excited about the activity at the parks. I spoke with a friend who was so excited that during the last freeze, he was able to have a fun snow day with his family and not have to worry about losing water pressure. Because 4 years ago, with what we went through in February of 2021, our water system was overtaxed and overburdened. We have spent tens of millions of dollars on infrastructure projects, and we have seen results. So over the next few weeks, it's campaign season. You are going to hear a lot of hot air. I want to talk about reality. I want to talk about things that we have actually done. And I believe if you look at the track record, we can be proud of where we are today. Other than being a dad and a husband, being mayor has been the greatest honor of my life. I worked very hard. I crawled on my knees to D.C. to get us the disaster aid that we finally got. I ask that you let me have another 4 years to see it actually come to fruition. It takes a long time for that money to be approved. We got the approval, and now we're able to use it.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Hunter. Mr. Wilford Carter, Jr.
Yeah, Lake Charles is not only a city, and it's not only our city, but it's also a brand. And the question is, what do you see this brand is? At the inside of Lake Charles, the people in Lake Charles, as well as the people outside of Lake Charles, when you hear Lake Charles, what do you see the brand is? What's the matter? Okay, so the question is, if you feel like we can do better, we can do more, there's no doubt that we've had improvements. There's no doubt that we have gotten better. But can we go to another level? That's the question. In a democracy, no one should rule or no one should be managed in an elected official position for too long because they get stagnated. We're not looking for stagnation. We're looking for improvement. We're looking for advancement. We're looking for new leadership to push you to a whole nother level. What's the matter? What y'all want me to do? Talk louder? Back up. Oh, back up. Okay. Y'all hear? All right, I can stand up and over back up. So what we need to do is we need to look at things that will make us better. One thing that for sure make us better, and the data has already tell us, is we have to be more diversified. Not in the city, because we're already diversified in the city. What we need to do is be diversified when it comes to managing our city. More people need to speak up, and more people need a seat at the table. I'm willing to give people the seat at the table, even people that does not agree with me. I'm not going to attack a person or demean a person that does not agree with me because I'm not the first person. We also need to be collaborative efforts with other mayors in this area, as well as mayors that have the same demographic that we have across the city, across the country. We need to learn from other people. We can grow to a level that the world has never seen before. I believe this area in Lake Charles, Louisiana, can be the mecca in this entire country. We'll be the bacon that everyone has. So if you, I don't know, y'all trying to cut me off all kind of ways. Anyway.
Carter, his 30 seconds back. Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
Okay, even though he probably was out of order, but he's speaking out of passion. He's speaking out of love for Lake Charles. So I commend him for what he's doing and those type of people that we have to serve. That man said he couldn't read or write. That's who I want to. That's who I want to protect, because people have to speak for them people that can't speak for themselves. Because he don't know the rules of this organization. He don't know the rules of here. So I got to go to his house. Hey man, what's the problem? What can we do? So we have a clear understanding. These are the people that are not being listened to. These are the people that's not being heard. And I'm gonna tell you right now, some of us don't.
Thank you for your time.
I'm ready, baby. I'm ready.
Thank you for your time.
So I wanted to be clear. I'm not apologizing about his statement. I'm apologizing about the disruption.
Yes, ma'am.
He has every right to make his voice heard.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you to each of the candidates for participating with Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your commitment, your advocacy, and your responses. Additionally, we appreciate your passion for this role and for this seat to help individuals in the community who may or may not be able to help themselves. We thank you for your families and their commitment to your passion and your drive as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it? All right.